Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Be Good Leadership. I am Ronnie Caldwell, and of course, we give advice on what can help you in your leadership journey and, more importantly, in your everyday life. So, I want to take us back to Christmas, even though that was a bit ago. I'll tell you, since working in Poland, I've realized, in Poland, there's still Christmas lights up, right? And we're almost in March, and there's still, in my neighborhood, there's still Christmas lights up. And so I'm still thinking about, that Christmas time, a great time of year. And anytime it's Christmas, I always end up watching two movies, multiple times usually. One is A Christmas Story. Um, You'll shoot your eye out, kid, if you know that movie. If you've never seen it, you're missing out. But then the other is, of course, A Christmas Carol, which is my probably all-time favorite Christmas story to hear, to read, to watch. And A Christmas Carol, of course, is the story of Ebenezer Scrooge, a man who has lived his entire life up to that point, looking for wealth, greed, sacrificing all kinds of other things in his life for the dollar, for the money, for the pound, if you will, in his case. But he's then visited by, three ghosts. And at the end of the story, he commits to living a life in sort of good humor, goodwill to man, compassion, generosity, all those types of things. And I think that oftentimes people think to themselves that, well, that's what Christmas is about. The Christmas holiday is about that spirit. Whereas I feel like the more important point of the story is that the idea is that someone can commit to living their life in that fashion. That, especially this idea of a goodwill towards people, good humor, generosity, and compassion, and trying to live that way, not just when it's a holiday, but live that way through the greater portion of your life. And so I feel like that's so important it's worth trying. I think that naturally people have different capacities to at what level they can get. I think that they say that in terms of happiness, personality, all those things come into play. There's people who have set points in terms of how happy they are with life, and they can go up and down, but oftentimes they come back to the same level of set point. But I truly believe that through a practice of intention setting throughout time, people can choose to live their life with more good humor, with more goodwill to people, and generosity and compassion. And the way I think it applies to school is, well, one, goodwill, meaning that when you come into an environment in a school, when you come in any place, hoping that people do well, right? This feeling that when you come in is generally, I just hope people can do a good job, and I hope that I can help them do well. Like, I don't need to see myself do better than a whole bunch of other people. I don't need to be up here when everyone else is down here. What I would hope is general goodwill to all. That the students are successful as they can be, the teachers are successful as they want to be, and the school itself as a team is successful. And whether that is because of my idea or because it's actually the best idea of the team, the best idea that gets us going, whatever helps us win, whatever helps us be successful, is what needs to happen. And I don't need to be up front. But by coming in with this spirit of, really at the end of the day, what I want is the goodwill of I want what's good for people. I hope that they experience some joy and success. And I think that's the issue. So much of the time, we can hear hard things from people who we know care about us. We can hear hard things. We can hear honest conversations, corrective feedback. It's so much easier. I don't know if easier is the word, but I think you're more likely to be receptive to it if you know that this person legitimately just wants what's good for you. Not wants you to do what they want you to do, but actually just wants what they feel is best for you. Right? So trying to have that goodwill towards all people. The other is good humor. I think we need it, right? I think some of the best advice I ever got was to remember that the thing about seventh graders is that they're always in seventh grade, right? And in school, school is one of those things, man. You come in and every year, it doesn't matter. The change of year, change of kids, they're still 14, they're still 17, they're still 10, they're still 9, they're still children, right? They're still have all the anxieties and immaturities that go with being that age. And if we're really honest about it, man, adults get into some of the same stuff, right? I mean, it's, it's interesting, especially when you're in high school, to see some of the dramas that break out amongst the kids. You can see them break out amongst the teachers. You can hear about them in other organizations and all these different things. And we're human beings, and we're all trying to learn. And there's natural tragedies and bumps and bruises but good humor is the ability to laugh at some of these things and move forward. Not take them seriously, but to take them seriously, but then also see them for, we can laugh a little bit at some of these facts, at this again, right? Or that another senior class feels that the seniors before them got more stuff, or that they're the unlucky ones because of this or that and the other. I mean, it happens all the time, right? And so I think that in teaching, we can get very cynical in education because we see the same things over and over again. And I think we see the same things over and over again because we're just human beings. And we haven't figured out a perfect way to do school. We haven't figured out a perfect way to work organizations and general stuff and work. And I haven't been or worked at a school that hasn't had some version of similar problems, right? But we have to have a good humor about it. If we have a good humor about it, we can get through it. We can see that this is not so special, that there's nothing that can be done about it. And some of these travails and some of these struggles are just the stuff that's inherent in dealing with just people in general, parents, what have you, administrators, all these things. And it's so important to be able to laugh about it, to be able to say, yeah, make a joke and tell a funny story, turn some of our hardships into funny stories and struggles so that we can learn and move forward together, but in good humor. Generosity. I think living with a generous spirit, being willing to share. And when we say share, I don't just mean share food, even though I'm very willing to share food. I love to share food to people. But be willing to share what you know. Be willing to share what you hear about, being able to share what's helpful to you. I don't think we do enough of that. To share perspective, to share what we're seeing. Some people might call it transparency in an organization, but I feel that it's generous in an organization for leadership to share with people what's actually going on. How much of it can I share that's not, I don't know, putting the organization at risk, even though we don't deal with nuclear secrets usually in school environments or many organizations at all. But being generous with information, being generous with resources, being able to say, hey, here's what we have available, and let's see if we can actually put this money into school, into programs, helping people. That generosity of spirit to come forward and saying, I'm willing to share what I've got with you, whether that be knowledge, what I've learned, information, what have you. But living with that generous spirit into life, the generosity of time. I'm be generous with my time. I'll give you some time, that I have. If you're into, giving to charity and money, of course, that's good too. But I think that human beings, we are fairness creatures, right? We're very simple. We want to know what's fair. But and we're always looking for fairness or unfairness, and that seems to be just a human trait, regardless of culture, just part of our nature. But also we're cooperative. We belong in groups, right? And in those groups, to have survived for a long time, is people needed to be willing to be generous in small groups, willing to share with each other, to provide each other with resources, to help each other with information, with learning, all those kinds of things. And I think the closer we stay to that nature and practice that with each other, the better off we'll all be. And then, of course, compassion, right? Compassion is this idea that there is suffering and hardship, and I'd rather see you not have to go through that? And what can I do about that, if anything? And I feel like compassion is important because to see that, if I was in that situation, to never lose this, how would I feel if that was me? You don't lose that. You can't always do everything about it, but you should never lose that. You should never lose this idea that, man, it's not as easy as, I don't know what that person has gone through. I don't know if I would be any different if I had been raised like them, if I was from where they were from, all those things. So this idea of compassion being, if I can help someone avoid some suffering, I'll do so. And to never let go of, how would I feel if I was in that situation? And what would I have appreciated? How would I appreciate being treated if I was in that situation? What would I definitely not want done to me if I was in that situation? I think that's important for that piece of compassion, and to live with that, to keep those kinds of thoughts on the ready and make sure that we're considering those things every day will make us better at life, make us better at leadership, make us better for people in general. I think at the end, I know that I'll need people to be patient with me. I'll need people to, be patient with me, be tolerant with me. I'll need people to help me out when I make a mistake. I'll need people to, maybe give me a little bit of forgiveness here and there, for mistakes I make and everything else. And since I know I'll need that, it also makes sense that I give that. I'll be in need of that from other people. So, of course, why not reciprocate and give that back? So I think that people might see this as, well, is this morality? Is this, does this have anything to do with leadership? I think working in a school and being a leader, working with people is always it can be a moral endeavor. It can be a moral endeavor. I don't know how you get away from it, but I feel that so much of what I do, what I've seen, what's been helpful, when people give me feedback back about what's been helpful either in my leadership or leadership of others, or just in being a friend with others, it is in a way of being. And I always like the Christmas Carol, because I think what it really is about, he didn't lay down 10 commandments or rule every single little rule for what he was going to do going forward. Basically changed. Ebenezer Scrooge decides that there's a different way he's going to show up. There's a different way of being that he's going to exhibit for the rest of his life, to make his life worth living for himself and for the people that come in contact with him, so he can be a benefit in this life. And I think that is through goodwill for others, good humor, generosity, and compassion. As always, the advice is free, and you don't have to take it, but be good.